Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron. It's been a while since we sat down and did a video. Last time we spoke was about the Jarrad Branthwaite rumours circling around him, regarding a move away from the football club. And I said on that video that I only wanted to make that video because I wanted to make it. And what I meant by that was I didn't feel like I needed to make the video. I didn't feel like I had to make the video. I had something to get off my chest. I had some thoughts and feelings about a certain situation surrounding Everton Football Club and specifically a player from Everton. And therefore I clicked record. I had a little 10-15 minute rant and I uploaded it. And I think I said in that video as well that I'll be back once I have something else to get off my chest and once I have something else to say about Everton Football Club and, the current situation. Because I'll be perfectly honest with you, over the course of the last 5-6 weeks since the end of last season, obviously we had the entirety of the break and then we had pre-season and now we're a couple of weeks into the season. I haven't very often had that feeling of, right, I am desperate to sit down and do a video here. And I feel like I owe it to you all, to be honest, because there's lots of people who watch me on a daily basis. There's lots of people who have messaged me since I've been gone, sort of asking where I'm gone and when there's next going to be another video and what's going on and why I'm not here, etc, etc, etc. And I feel like I owe it to you all to just be completely honest, and that's all I can be at this point. I'm not going to sit here and start making false promises. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I just needed a break, everything's back to normal now, I'm fully back, because I'll be honest, I don't really know how I feel about this at the moment. And this is just everything surrounding Everton Football Club. What we've had to deal with as fans, not just me, by the way, what we've had to deal with as a fan base over the last 3 years or so has been absolutely heartbreaking. And I'm not saying this for people to feel sorry for me or as a woe is me sort of thing, but anybody that creates content surrounding Everton Football Club will know and will understand how difficult it has been over the last couple of years. It's been difficult anyway, being an Evertonian. We pretty much have to pick ourselves up every single week, knowing full well that we are likely to be disappointed, knowing full well that we are likely to be frustrated and upset with the level of performance, with the tactics of the manager, with the decisions of the people at the football club, with the performances of certain players. And yet we still have to pick ourselves up week in, week out and go and watch it. But the difference between being, a sort of a fan that doesn't make content and a fan that does make content is that separation. And I spoke quite openly towards the back end of last season. I still specifically remember the day. It was one of the worst days of my life, that game against West Ham United, where Goodison Park, we'd lost. I think we'd lost in the last seconds and we were in a really, really bad run of form. The relegation threat was looming over us for the third season in the bounce, and it just all got on top of me. And I had to make a decision then, for me personally, in terms of, right, I can't let this ever get to me this much again, because not only is Everton affecting my moods, but it's affecting everything externally. It's affecting how I am when I get home to my girlfriend and my family, how I feel for the following week. It's affecting what I'm able to do in that day. For example, if Everton play at 3 o'clock on a Saturday and we lose and we put a bad performance in, I'm then in a mood and not really wanting to do anything for the rest of the day. That's, one of the only 2 days me and the family get to spend together, because obviously 5 days a week we're all in work, we're all doing our separate things. So one of those 2 days a week we get to spend together is ruined because I'm frustrated and upset with 11 millionaires who have let me down on a Saturday afternoon. I come out and I've done a video after that game and said, listen, I'm going to change the way in which we do the content, because the pure sort of, I don't want to call it a workload because it's not work, but the frequency of which I was doing content prior to that West Ham game was pretty much every single day. And as I said, we all know what it's like to be an Evertonian. We've all been through it. We've all lived through it. But living through that and having to talk about it, or not having to, but certainly talking about it every single day, and every single day talking about another, end of the world level situation, whether it be the manager's come out and said something that people don't like, whether it's the players have put another terrible performance in, whether it's, a potential takeover has fallen, through, whether it's the current owner has said something, the board, whatever it is, it just felt like for a good, certainly 2.5 to 3 years, I'd say 2 of the 3 years. The first year was an anomaly. It was a bit mad. We hadn't been in a relegation battle for years. We all come together. But the second year and then last year really, really, really hit me, and really hit me personally, because as I said, the first year was a bit mad. We'd not really been in a relegation battle for a long period of time. We all sort of just took on the situation as it was happening, rallied behind the players. We all went to Finch Farm to greet the players before they travelled for an away game. We all done the coach greetings outside the Goodison. It wasn't a good situation at all, but it didn't feel as impending doom as the last 2 years have felt. And I remember that feeling I felt on the final whistle of the game against Bournemouth a couple of years ago. Final game of the season. All we needed to do was win at Goodison and we'd stayed up. And the final whistle went, and there wasn't one part of me that was excited. There wasn't one part of me that felt the way I did 12 months before when we beat Crystal Palace at Goodison. And I know people will always say, oh, we should never have celebrated that game. We should never have run on the pitch, etc., etc. The emotion I felt on that night and the feelings I felt on that night, although they come from a position of sort of negativity for the club, as in we should never have had to have been in that situation to feel like that, it was a disgrace that we were in that situation, I still see that night as a magical night for me. Because even though people will say, well, we shouldn't be celebrating staying up, it's embarrassing, being 2-0 down at half-time and being pretty convinced that was it for Everton in the Premier League for me, to then having that comeback and winning 3-2 and staying up in the league, the emotion I felt on that night, as I said, it was different to anything I've ever felt before. And I'm not saying it was the best feeling I ever had, because, I agree, it come from a situation that we should never have been in, and it was disgraceful that we were in the first place. But there was just something magical about that night. And I will say that to anybody, by the way. Anybody that tries to tell me that night wasn't magical because we should never have been in that position doesn't understand us, wasn't there. Yes, we all know we should never have been in that position, but the night in itself was pretty magical for what had happened. It was a fairy tale ending. However, I didn't feel like that 12 months later. I felt like we'd been let down. I felt like we'd had the warning signs, we'd had the season where it nearly happened and we just survived, and we didn't make any changes. We weren't proactive, we didn't do anything to try and avoid it happening again. We basically just went, whoa, that was a bit mad, isn't it? Let's just hope that doesn't happen next season. Lo and behold, because we didn't make any changes, it happened again the following season. And I didn't have the urge to celebrate when we beat Bournemouth. I didn't have the urge to go out on the piss with me mates and have a laugh in it, because I was fuming. I was fuming that the football club, and specifically the people that ran the football club, had put us in that position again. After everything we'd been through the year before, 40,000 inside Goodison Park, convinced that we were gone, that we were being relegated when we were 2-0 down against Crystal Palace. All of that we went through. We went through it again the following season because of how disgracefully ran the football club was. And then lo and behold, we went through it again last season. But only last season we had the points deductions to deal with. We had the manager you know, at a point setting his team up in a baffling way. We went 4 months without a win. And it just really, really took its toll. It really, really took its toll on me, because I love this football club and I will always support this football club, and I will watch every game and I will get to every home game that I can from, you know, when I was, 10, 8, 9 years old until, you know, for a long, long time in the future, hopefully. However, talking about every game live on a camera in front of thousands of people, talking about every takeover collapse, every interview, you know, that's in the media, every bit of news that's in the media, it does take its toll. And I'm not saying this, by the way, for sympathy or for people to feel sorry for me. I just wanted to make a video to explain some things, and I wanted to be honest. I didn't want to sit here and say, oh, I just needed a little break, but I'm back now, because I'll be perfectly honest with you, we're 2 weeks into the season now. We've played 2 games. We obviously played Brighton on the opening day, shocking performance. Tottenham last weekend, shocking performance. And before the Brighton game, after the Brighton game, the week post the Brighton game, the days leading up to Spurs, after Spurs, post Spurs, I've not once had the urge to sit down and do a video. And the reason for that is because we've put 2 horrific performances in, and the second the game is finished, I've turned it off or left the stadium and not even given Everton another single thought for the rest of the weekend, because I was sick of those types of performances ruining my weekends and ruining my time with family and having an effect on my personal life, my personal relationships, because of how affected I was getting by, like I said before, 11 millionaires turning up and not putting a shift in on a Saturday afternoon. So I think because of the changes I made to the channel last year, and then obviously having the break in pre-season, it's made me sort of almost enjoy just being a match-going fan again, and treating Everton in the same way my dad treats Everton. Now, if you've been around the channel for a while, you will know of my dad. He was on the first ever podcast. He spoke about his story. I've done a video of his home office, which is kitted out completely full of Everton gear. Those videos are still on the channel now if you want to go and check them out. But my dad has a very sort of old school, win, draw or lose, we're on the booze mentality with Everton. And that mentality sort of stems from that feeling of, right, I'll go the game, I'll see what happens, I'll watch what happens, I'll have a few conversations in the pub about it, but I won't get overly excited. If we win, I won't get overly excited. If we lose, I won't get overly sort of frustrated. I'll just sit in this middle ground. I won't let it affect me week. I won't let it affect the rest of me night. I'll just watch it. If I'm not happy, I'll have a little conversation with someone, but it's not the end of the world. And I could never get that attitude nailed down. I couldn't. I just couldn't. If Everton won a game, I was on cloud nine. I was buzzing. I was dead happy. I was absolutely booming. Great. But if Everton lost, as I said, I didn't want to speak to anyone. I didn't really want to go out. I didn't really want to engage. I was a bit short-tempered. I was a bit frustrated. I just wanted to sit there and sort of wallow in my own self-pity for the rest of the night. And even after I'd done a video ranting and raving about it, I still wasn't in the mood. I still didn't really want to do much, because I knew 48 hours later I'd have to do an hour-long sort of debrief on that same shite performance I'd just watched. So that break in the summer and not having to do that, I'll be honest, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it an awful lot. And I thought to myself every week in the summer, right, I'll just have a couple of weeks off. I'll come back next week. I'll come back next week. I'll come back next week. And every single time I said it, it got to the next week and I felt like I'd missed so much, whether it be kit launches, whether it be transfer news, whether it be... I also went on holiday, which is the first time in the 5 years I've been doing this channel where I've gone on holiday and not made a video about Everton, which was nice. It was a nice break. It was a nice time to be able to go away and switch off. And every time it comes to that, right, okay, it's a new week, shall I make a video? I'd missed that much worth of news and information that I just felt like I was too far behind. And because I was enjoying having that break, I didn't have that motivation to sort of jump straight back in. And I'll be honest, that's sort of where I'm at now with it. I'm at that stage of going the match, watching it, and I'm saying this from experience because this is what I did a week ago at Goodison Park when we lost to Brighton, and this is what I did last Saturday when we lost to Spurs. Watched the game. You know, again, we had chances. I was a little bit excited or what was going on. And then ultimately, you know, we both know how the last two games have gone. Other than the first 15 minutes against Brighton, we've been pretty abhorrent for both games. And I left Goodison Park after Brighton. I went back to the missus and I didn't think about it again. I didn't have the pressure of, oh, I've got to talk about this now and then it's going to get me angry and then I'm going to read up, you know, I'm going to read social media all night and that's going to get me more and more frustrated. I didn't have the feeling of, oh my God, Everton. I just felt like, yeah, no surprise there. Same performance as usual, same mistakes. Oh well, let's put that to bed and just focus on next week. Just to try and live a bit more of a positive life, a bit more of a happier life. And as I said, Everton Football Club at the moment are just, it's just a shit show. It's an absolute shit show, and it's been like this for years and years and years. And people say, you know, well, what do you expect from the manager? We're in this position. What do you expect from, you know, this is where we are. We're fighting relegation. You know, we should be happy to just stay in the Premier League. I understand all of that. I understand the situation the club are in. I understand the fact that it's not all on the manager. I understand the fact that we're not out of this situation yet. But it just feels like we never will be. And I know we will be. And I know we might sit here in 6 months' time and we've got a new owner and things are starting to look up and things are much more positive and we're much happier about things. And I might watch this video back and think, bloody hell, Cam, you were a bit pessimistic there. You know, you only needed a new owner. But it just feels like we've been talking about the same problems for years now with this football club. And we've been talking about the same needed solution. We just need a new board in, a new owner, and we need things to, you know, just completely change. We need the whole football club. Every element of Everton Football Club needs to be flipped on its head and changed for us to even, you know, have any hope of being any form of success in the future. And it just feels like every time that's close to happening, the Dan Friedkin situation with the Friedkin group, every time it feels like, okay, we might be, you know, getting closer here to change. We might be getting closer here to a new Everton. It just feels like every time we get there, it all just falls to bits and we're just back where we've been for the last 3 years with a clueless clown of an owner who hasn't got a clue how to run a football club. He hasn't even got a clue how to run a football club financially, which is ironic from an accountant. Again, I still will never believe that fella is a qualified accountant until I see his papers signed by, you know, a certified place of education. Because I'm sorry, there's absolutely no chance an accountant can be that bad with money. You know, with no board now, you know, our previous board were, again, absolutely embarrassing at their job, abhorrent at their jobs, and were removed and never replaced. Were replaced by, you know, a couple of staff at the football club who are there on a temporary basis, who, let's be honest, won't be making any huge, massive decisions for the football club because they know they're not going to be in a job in the coming months when the new owner comes in. Certainly won't be in that job that they're in now. Players who, for the most part, are not very good at football. Let's have it right. I think the players work hard. I think the players are capable of putting better performances in than what we're seeing. But I think as a general take, the squad is... Sorry about that, phone was ringing. I think as a general sort of take, the squad is hugely lacking in quality. We've got wingers who can't run and can't take a man on. And in my opinion, if you're a winger in the Premier League who has got no pace to run at players and won't take a man on, you've not really got any place on the pitch. Just because you work hard doesn't mean that that warrants a place. In my opinion, we've got a centre forward who's offside more times than he's onside. And yes, I get, he hasn't got the support he needs. He hasn't got the players around him creating chances for him. I get all of that, but at times when he is played in, at times when he is played through, the centre halves, he's more often than not offside. He also doesn't look particularly interested in being at the football club at the moment. We've got various other players throughout the squad who are just not good enough and just haven't got enough quality to be at Everton Football Club. We've got a manager who makes the same mistakes week in, week out and refuses to change because of his stubbornness. We've got a 39-year-old and a 35-year-old who both play in the same position. We haven't got another player in that position other than a 20-odd-year-old Nathan Patterson who the manager doesn't like. We're being told left, right and centre, well, we've got no money. What do you want the manager to do? We've got no money. We can't buy with this. Yet we've bought 4 or 5 players, all of whom play in similar positions, none of whom are right backs to replace the 40-odd-year-old and the injury-prone 35-year-old we've got. It just feels like the club are continuing to make the same mistakes and the same mistakes that have ultimately led us to being in this position and in this situation. And I get it, hands are tied behind backs. I get Dyche and Thelwell are working in incredibly difficult circumstances, but I just feel like there's not much common sense. And that's me being perfectly honest. Did we really need to go and bring Jack Harrison back in again on loan, or was it just the easy thing to do because he works hard? He wasn't brought back because of his quality, because, let's be honest, he's got absolutely nothing going forward. He's got no end product. He's got no level of creativity. He's got no pace. He can't take... And this isn't just about Jack Harrison, by the way. It's more to the point that we knew all of that, and yet we still made it a priority to go and get him again in the summer. Why? Probably because he works hard and the manager likes him. That's fine. But why not go out and buy a winger who works hard but also has got a bit more quality than Jack Harrison? Because I can tell you now, there's plenty of them out there. As I've just said, we've got a 35-year-old and a 39-year-old who we rely on far too often. Why haven't we gone out and bought another right back yet? I know there's rumours about Kieran Trippier, but as of now, we haven't made that signing, and that should have been the number one priority this summer. The absolute number one priority this summer. Michael Keane's still playing. Mason Holgate's still coming off the bench. These things that just should not be happening in 2024 for Everton Football Club. And that's not me having personal goals at those players. By the way, I've got no personal issue with those players. They just shouldn't be anywhere near a starting 11 for Everton. And yet they are. We're seeing situations where fans are going to train stations and greeting players and, screaming and swearing and shouting. It just feels like a very toxic environment at this moment, and I will always support this football club. I always will. I'll be at Goodison every single week, and I'll be watching, trying to get to as many away games and watching them, the rest of them. But listen, the way I am as a human being, I find it difficult to find a middle ground. So I find it difficult for me to come on here and do 5 videos a week, Monday to Friday, and then 4 videos around every game, and not be fully emotionally invested in this. I'd struggle to sit here and do 15 videos a week and not let Everton affect me. I can't. The only way I let Everton not affect me in the way that it has in the last couple of years is by just watching the game for what it is, and then after it, either leaving the stadium or turning it off and not thinking about it for another few days. I can't be on social media. I can't be talking constantly about the game, because then I get back into that, mass level of emotional investment, which ultimately leads me to those nights where, I don't want to talk to anyone, and I'm frustrated and I'm angry and I'm wound up and I'm this, that and the other. And I've done that for 3 years now with no change. And as I said in that video after the West Ham game, I've nearly lost relationships because of this. I've nearly lost friendships because of this, just because of the fact that I just couldn't, again, nothing too serious, but I just was miserable to be around when Everton lost. And it was getting to the point where Everton were losing every week, sometimes multiple times a week. And that wasn't fair on the people around me. And it wasn't fair on me. Saturday after the match, I turned it off and I went and had a nice night. And halfway through the night, I wasn't even thinking about Everton. And that's how it should be, because it's football. It's not the end of the world. It's not life. Things are more important than football. And I don't want to be sat at Goodison Park watching Everton losing 3 or 4-0 one day with, as I said, a few months ago, with a load of overpaid millionaires who haven't even got a clue I exist, waltzing around, not putting a performance in that they should be, whilst I've lost everything because of how they've affected me. It's just not the way I want it to go. And the toxicity around the football club at the moment, the uncertainty around the takeover stuff, the drastically poor levels of performances week in, week out, the constant discussions about the manager and whether or not he's good enough and whether or not he should be sacked. It's just a lot at the moment. And because I do this channel on my own and it's only ever been me, it's not like I can say to someone, right, just jump on for a week or two and do all of these videos that need to be doing, and then I'm going to have a week away from it and then I'll come back. I can't. If I have a week away from this, there's no content. If I want there to be content, if I want the channel to keep going, it's me got to be forking it out, and that has an effect. And I'm not trying to sit here and, as I said, make out like I've got the worst life in the world, or it's horrible, or this, that and the other. It's a very easy process. I could have, again, I was happy to just not do a video, not talk on this, and just, as I said, go the game, see what is, and then come home and either be happy or forget about it. But I felt like I owed it to you. I felt like I owed an explanation. I felt like I owed to all of you that have supported me over the years, to all of you that have messaged me over the last couple of weeks. Thank you so much, by the way. I felt like I owed it to sit down and just explain what's going on. Now, this isn't, just to conclude, this isn't me saying the channel's over. This isn't me saying I'm quitting, I'll never be back, I'll never tweet again, I'll never do another video again. This is just me saying I'm not quite ready yet to get back into match preview, instant match reaction, match review, player ratings, news video, takeover update, latest kit, latest signings. I'm just not quite ready to get back into it yet. And I'm not sure when I will be. It might well be when the takeovers happened and when things have calmed down a little bit, things have smoothed themselves out a little bit, and things are a little bit less hectic and a little bit less doomsday, like I said before. And some of you might think, times are difficult, he's running away when it gets hard, he can't be bothered doing it. Anyone that's watched me over the years, anybody that knows me knows that for the last 3 years, which, like I said before, have been horrific, I've done between 5 and 15 videos every week for those 3 years. And it's gotten to a point now where it's just all come too much. And again, I'm not saying I'm not going to do any content until the takeover, because I might be sitting here on Saturday wanting to do a video. And like I said in that Jared Brantwaite video a month ago, if I ever get the urge to do a video and the feeling to do a video, I will do it, regardless of what it's about, regardless of whether it's about something that's frustrating me, something that I'm happy about. I will do it. But I haven't had that feeling a lot recently, and I don't want to just do the videos for the sake of it, because it won't come across properly, and you'll all be able to tell. You'll all be able to tell I'm not that invested. You'll all be able to tell that, I'm not quite as clued up, or I'm not quite as, knowing what's going on. You'll all be able to tell. And as I said, I can't be in unless I'm emotionally in. That's just the way I am as a human being. That's just the way I am as a person. I'm like that with anything. If I'm really interested in something, to the point where I can talk about it on a daily basis, I am emotionally massively invested. And I'm obviously emotionally invested in Everton still, and always will be. But as I said, I just can't do the talking about Everton for 5, 6, 7 hours a week, as well as not letting them affect me. That means they have an effect on me. And I just can't afford to allow that to happen at this moment in time, because, like I said, the amount of articles, the amount of bits of news I've read over the last month or so since I've been away, and I have audibly said to myself, I'm glad I'm not doing a video on that, because I've read the headline, or I've read the first few lines, and I've just thought, wow, again, impending doom, and then I've just put my phone away. Whereas previously, I'd have had to read all of that, I'd have had to talk about it, I'd have then got wound up, I'd have then got frustrated, I'd have then had that feeling of, oh my God, the world's ending, this is the worst thing ever. And there's only so much of that you can do before it comes crashing down. And it come crashing down after that West Ham game, and that's when I changed, and I said, right, I'm just going to do one video a week now, and we'll see how we go from there. And then we got to the summer, and because there wasn't any game, so I didn't strictly have to do a video, I enjoyed that first couple of weeks so much that when we come back for pre-season, when we started to make signings, I just didn't really have the urge to come back. And that's the honest truth. And as I said, just to conclude, this isn't me saying the channel's over. This isn't me saying I'm never doing a video again. And if you want to unsubscribe because I'm not going to be uploading as much, then whatever, fair enough. That's up to you. I just don't know when I will be back. I do believe I will be back. I do think that at some point in the future I will be back to doing as much content as I was, a year ago, a year and a half ago. But I just don't know when that will be. And it isn't now. But I didn't want to leave you any longer without an explanation. Because I've had a couple of people ask me what's going on and where I am. And even if it's just a couple of people wondering, you all deserve for me to tell you what's going on and what the situation is. So, yeah, there you go. I've had no script for this video. I never have a script for videos, but there's been no script. So if I've sort of tripped over myself a couple of times during it, if I've sort of sounded a little bit confusing, it's because this is the first time I've had this conversation at all, and I'm still trying to figure it out myself. But I hope you somewhat understood. As I said, this isn't the end of the channel, and I'm sure I'll be back at some point over the next few weeks or whatever. I just don't know when that will be. And like I said, whilst we're still under Farhad Moshiri and whilst things are still the way they are, I think it's best for me and my mental health and my health to just sort of take a little step back. And then once everything's smoothed over and we've got, a bit of a plan for the future, if you like, and I'm starting to feel a little bit better about things, I'll gradually come back from that point. But this isn't an easy decision, by the way. It killed me not wanting to do videos. It killed me feeling that disconnected to Everton. But I'd said a couple of times over the years, I've never been this disconnected to Everton in my life, but then I'd still the next day do a video, I'd still the next day do another video, I'd still the next day get excited about a bit of news and then get massively upset about another bit of news. Whereas this summer, has made me realise, wow, I feel so disconnected from this football club because, again, I could have had another 6 weeks away from Everton, 7, 8 weeks. And not just Everton, by the way, football in general. I've watched a couple of games in the league this season and a couple of refereeing decisions and stuff. I've said this before and I'll say it again. It's just not the game I grew up loving. And if I'm going to still have an interest in that game, then I half need Everton to just even be shite. Just not be doomsday, the world's crashing down, everything is about to explode. Shite. Just be like, all right, shite, where we win every now and then, we lose every now and then, we finish mid-table, it is what it is. But I just can't do that. Monday waking up, Everton Football Club set to go into administration, as takeover collapses. Tuesday wake up, another 10-point deduction facing Everton because of that. And I know a lot of these news and articles are not necessarily real, and they've not necessarily got much substance, and they're just there to get people clicking and to get people interested, but it still has that feeling and has that effect on you when you're reading those articles about your football club, and then you're watching us turn up on a Saturday and perform like we did at Spurs, and then you're seeing the manager come out and put blame on the fans for being frustrated with that, and then you're seeing fans turning up and screaming and shouting at players, which is just not a nice thing to see whatsoever, and not a helpful thing either. But again, fans are frustrated and fans are upset with what's going on. It's just a toxic environment that I will always be a part of because I love this football club. It's tattooed on my body multiple times. I will never, ever, ever not be an Evertonian. I will never, ever, ever not go to Goodison Park. But I just need to take a step away from that toxicity for a little bit because it was having an effect on me personally, and that isn't on, because life isn't football. It isn't. So there you go. I hope that helps. I hope that provides some form of an explanation. I'm sorry if it doesn't. I just want to say thank you all so much again from the bottom of my heart for all the support over the years, not just over the last sort of 5 years, but specifically the last few weeks. I've had a lot of messages of people asking where I am, messaging to make sure I'm okay, to make sure everything's fine, and I haven't been able to get back to everyone personally, so I just want to say thank you all so much. And as I said, this isn't the end of this channel, this isn't the end of me, this isn't the last time you'll see me. I just want you all to know that videos aren't going to be as frequent as they have been for the last 4 to 5 years at the moment, because I'm just having a little bit of a step away from it at the moment. But I firmly believe I'll be back at some point in the future and things will be like they were previously. I just need a little step away from it at the minute. I've got a few other things going on in life. I've had a few personal things going on recently as well, bereavements in the family, etc. And I just didn't need Everton and the shite that comes with Everton to go on top of everything else. So once again, thank you all so much for your support. I love you all. I really do appreciate it. Thank you all for taking time out of your day to watch this as well. I hope it explains the situation a little bit. Any questions, leave them down below and I'll try and get back to as many of them as possible. But big thank you all for watching. Really do appreciate it, and we'll see you soon.